Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of What the Tech is Product Management. We have with us Prashant Mahajan, and we're really excited to kick off this episode on how to really think about product management and what would you think about when you're creating a product for product managers as such. So glad to have you here, Prashant. We'll do a quick round of intros. I'm Nishant. I work for Walmart iTech. I'm a PM there for the past three years. And Shruti, off to you.
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Shruti. I'm a product manager at Snowflake as well. Been at Snowflake for 2 years now and been in product management industry for 10 years. And yes, we are really excited to have Prashant. Prashant, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Prashant, founder of Zeta.io. We are building a product for product managers. Before that, I have been a product manager for 10 years. Started my career as a product manager, worked in India, Southeast Asia, USA, Japan, uh, with growth stage companies before realizing that product management itself needs a shake-up. So I started a company to help product managers, uh, currently based in San Francisco, and yeah, love product management because that's all I have done.
No, I
Awesome.
I met Prashant like last year. Was it like in one of the networking events? And I'm really excited, Prashant, with all the details that you're going to share with our audience. So why don't we just jump into the conversation? Nishant, please go ahead and lead it.
Yeah, Prashant. So let's set up some context for our listeners. It would be awesome if you could give us like a quick spiel of like what is Zera.io, and then we can dive deeper into it.
Perfect. So, Zeta.io is a product management platform specifically focused on product discovery and planning. So, if you take the product management, most of the tools out there are associated with road mapping, but we wanted to answer what should go into a roadmap. So, that's the first question we want to answer. As the companies become bigger and bigger, the you might have read that, hey, you should talk to your customers, you should listen to your customers. But bigger companies, PMs get further and further away from the from the users. And there are silos, there are tools, there are teams which are responsible for interacting with the user. And this is my frustration that people who are going to build and the users are further away. So I thought, okay, can we bridge that gap? So what we do at Zeda is we take in your data, unstructured data, let's say calls, recordings, user survey, user research, Slack messages, support tickets,
Okay.
sales, CRM data, customer success data, any other imaginable data, which is in the form of audio, video, or text, which traditional data analyst or business analyst cannot process. We take that data, process it, and generate insights that what as a product manager you should be focusing on. What are your customers asking? What are they complaining about? What are the potential impact of shipping a feature? What are the revenue opportunities, churn reasons, all that analysis, and then help you take action on it. That's what we
Mm.
do. So helping product teams ship out the right product.
Yeah, I mean, prioritization is one of the biggest problem, right? Like it's always about conflicting priorities. I know Prashant, you've always said that this tool is for like product manager, but somehow I also feel that it's a tool for UXR as well, right? Like it's for anyone who's trying to funnel down the basic requirements.
We actually have got couple of uh, buyers who are user researchers or user experience manager or customer experience managers. So that's there. But I still feel because of my biasness towards product management, I feel that the ball the it stops at product manager. That
Right.
eventually you have to decide and you need data to decide what to build. And that's where we are providing you.
True, true,
It is
true.
insane. So how did you get into this startup ecosystem, Prashant? So what was the inception for you, and how did you go about giving it a structure and kicking off your journey?
I think one thing which I have learned and someone told me when I was starting up is 50% of startup is starting up. So that decision to start up, if so many good people have ideas, brilliant ideas, just that taking that leap of faith is a challenge. Especially, I think last time when me and Shruti met, we touched it briefly that due to regulatory reasons that you might not have visa, or financial reason or life decisions, that
Yeah.
leap of faith is not possible. Another big challenge is the golden handcuff, which all these big tech companies give us, that you are getting free food, free money, free everything. So you are not able to go and start a company. My inception point was I was frustrated by the fact that we are doing operational product management instead of the uh, strategic product management. And then I started reaching out to my mentors, my advisors, people I know that, hey, is it just me or do you also face that? And then it came out that most of the people I talked to were not happy with the way product management was being done. And this is 2020. I had just been laid off, so my golden handcuffs were
Oh,
taken away. I did get a job within a month
okay.
of getting laid off, but I experienced the freedom. And they say that once you taste the freedom, there's no going back. So I knew how to live uh, with minimal means. So I was like, okay, for 2 months, I had uh, lived the unemployed life. So when I started talking to people, I got a job. I started seeing that, hey, the pattern was repeating. They are great company. It's a SoftBank backed Japan company. They're like not following the ideal principles which we read. And that was my point. I was like, enough is enough. In future, I knew the way we are building products are not going to be the same. And I had researched enough about GitHub AI Copilot. I had built AI products back then. Uh, I could see the rise of Figma and Notion. And I'm like, this is going to change in future. And I just didn't want to wait outside for someone to build that tool. I thought, okay, I'll take a leap of faith. And and, and then I'll also tell more practical part, which is I was at the age of 27 and a half, I had enough saving for 1 year. I met a co-founder who could fill my complementary skills. He was a technical background. We worked
Okay.
together. He was ready to take a leap of faith. I um, so all these pieces fit together. Right age, right co-founder, right idea, validation, something I was passionate about, something I felt the gap in the market. Um, so I think all these things coming together and you're deciding that, okay, eventually you have to say that, okay, for example, for me, it was I had to take a flight to Japan or decide to start up. Now, I was, it was either or. I
Yeah.
couldn't do
Okay.
together. So I decided to take the leap of faith, and that was my start. Once you start the journey, things become more predictable. Like you don't know things, but you're able to figure it out. It's like uh, internet is there, which will tell you how the cap table is structured, what is the cap table. At that time, GPT was not there, but you can Google search everything.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I think when you are starting up, you have a question about accounting, finance, legal, operations, you can just ask GPT. Similarly, um, at that time, again, I think a lot of factors play, and one of the factor was the 2020-21 euphoria in the tech ecosystem where we got funding.
Yeah.
People were ready to back us up. So uh, we raised money at idea, but now yesterday I was talking to someone who's building for product managers. It's getting harder to get money on idea. So I think uh, that was also a beneficial thing. And then I
Can you
think,
tell us a little bit about your idea phase, Prashant? So,
sure.
I think there's a very common similarity there, right? Like you had an idea, you had a conviction. How did you go about validating that idea would be a true product market fit?
I think our idea was very, I'll not say very different, but very broad at that point. We wanted to build a all-in-one product management platform.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take product management, it can be basically divided into four parts. product discovery, which is your getting the data analysis and deciding what to build.
Mm-hmm.
Then is the planning, which is your road mapping, OKR, prioritization, dependency. Then is your execution, which is your wireframing, your documentation, your Jira tickets, sprints. And then is the launch part, which is your uh, A/B testing, GTM, further data getting in, and then you repeat the cycle.
Yeah.
So that's it. We wanted to build all that platform together so that there's a central place for product, like how you have GitHub for developers,
Yeah.
Figma for designers, Zendesk for
Yeah.
support ticket, Gusto for HR, um, Salesforce for salespeople, and so on. I thought, okay, we want to build a structure to product
Mm-hmm.
where uh, if I join your team in Snowflake or your team in Walmart, you cannot just say that read these 10 PRDs and 20 Jira tickets. That's your product. You need
Yeah.
to understand the past, present, and future of the product. So
Yeah.
we wanted to build that uh, product for product to visualize
Yeah.
that product,
Yeah.
which was the starting point. And then we thought, okay, uh, and there were layers of it that first we will build that platform, then we will have marketplace where people will be able to search Amplitude for analytic or Mixpanel or uh, something for wireframing and so on. And then it
That's
will,
amazing. I mean, like you always, and that's amazing, like, because even at Snowflake, like we always think that we should be a platform than a particular tool. So I'm really like, yeah, enthusiastic by this fact that you thought about this being a platform than like solving each use case.
yeah, because uh, we fa you can product management is so varied that you cannot solve each use case. Eventually,
Yeah.
you want to become that data platform where others can build it. And
Yes.
then idea was
Mm.
to have a user generated content like best PID or best decision making framework, which Nishant has written. Currently, it will be in some Notion document which I cannot find. But
Yeah.
like how you can find Dribble or Figma, you can find design inspiration. You can
Yeah.
go to GitHub or Stack Overflow and find the uh, code inspiration. I wanted to build something for product that, hey, this is Shruti's Zeta profile. And then finally, the AI Copilot was the thing that AI will help leverage all this
Yeah.
to help you build faster and better. So that was the bigger idea. But now we couldn't do it all. And that was one of the mistakes in this journey where we tried doing it all. Uh, so how we went ahead was we got the cheapest available domain. People ask me what is the meaning of Veda. I'm like, it was just $10 domain which I could find with single
Mhm.
syllabi and less SEO. We got that.
Yeah.
I took that domain and we got a template. Wherever my co-founder, he just hosted it on uh, one of the AWS server and it was free. And we started promoting that we are building the next gen platform for product
Mhm.
managers. And we created some framework around it that join the waitlist. This is the channel. And
Yeah.
because of my product management, I have been involved in the community. A, a lot of people signed up.
Okay.
Got it.
Then we hired an intern to just create a mock-up and wireframe.
Mm.
And we started going on calls with people that this is something which we are planning to do. Again, people gave positive feedback. And then when investors showed up, we had waitlist, we had a prototype, and we
Yeah.
had people who had seen the prototype and could vouch for it. So
So your
that came,
anecdotal evidence. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they gave funding. And
Nice.
that's how the journey started. Eventually, like I said, we realized that we were trying to do a lot of things too early at that scale. So we narrow down on product discovery and planning. Like I said, there are four pillars. So we narrow down on product discovery and planning because one thing about AI is that whenever you are building a startup, you have to answer that what is the differentiator here?
Mm-hmm.
So we realized that analyzing unstructured data was not possible before LLMs and AI.
Yeah.
So that's something new which people are going to do it in future.
Yeah.
And we were well positioned to start with it because that's something differentiator. Now there are 20 more tools in the market trying to do it, and traditional players are trying to enter this market. But when we started going deeper into it, was I think ChatGPT had just launched,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and we earlier we were trying to build our own model, but then we got access to LLM, so we leveraged that and we launched last year itself. So that's
Great.
how we got it.
That's great. That's great. Nishan, anything you want to ask?
Well, this is great. I think we had a similar episode the last time around where they began with a large scope. I think that's one of the things. When you're going to investors, they want to see a really big problem and big market value. But at the same time, when it comes to tactical execution, it starts off with, okay, what is the leanest MVP?
Yeah.
And in your case, it's even not even the product. It's just validating to begin with and creating a group of people who are interested in this idea, getting their feedback to begin with. And that was your MVP. And then you started going after, okay, what is the first product that I can ship for them and make add value to their ecosystem. So that's exciting to hear. Like, thanks so much for sharing that journey, Prashant.
Yeah. And it's very similar if you draw parallels to the product world as well, right? When you're asking, for example, your leadership to invest in a product, right? Like you know that there is a market need as a product manager. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to see at least 2 years out, right? To
Yeah,
begin with. And that's where, you need to strategize and this and that. But when you go to engineering, you need to come up with like, okay, what can we do in next 3 to 6 months? If you have a very good sense of what exactly can you execute in 3 to 6 months and stick it, I think like most times you'll be a very successful product manager.
yeah. I think there are two ways to think about it, which I learned over time. One is, what is your immediate, uh, if you're planning to raise venture funding,
Yeah.
you need to have a bigger picture, which is 10 years into the future.
Yeah.
If you're planning to slowly scale as you go, meaning you raised a pre-seed round and you have 2 3 engineers and you want to hit $1 million mark as soon as possible, then you need to start with immediate.
Yeah.
I know another company, second time founders, they made their first company public, and I met them and they told me they have raised 100 million seed round. Like the seed round is $100 million, out of which I think 30 40% is by the founders themselves
Yeah.
because they had an exit. And they did not launch a product for 2 years. And they're like, we are trying to build a fundamental foundational product fast. Uh, and then we'll think about it. Now that's a luxury. They
Yeah.
might be able to succeed it. They might be able to change the game and win it. Like OpenAI, if you take it, OpenAI did not have a product for first 6 7 years. Like
Yeah.
they were just doing research. Even when they had it, it was such a close that one of our competition is basically wife of a product head of OpenAI, and they got early access. So,
Mm.
but they did not have a product as such.
Yeah.
OpenAI, they're just working on it and researching.
Yeah.
Similarly, we take Starlink or Elon's other company, which are way longer into the future.
Yeah.
And I feel there are two ways to go for it. Either you want to uh, have a pointers,
Yeah.
milestones in the journey, or you want to work for the future.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest advice which we got was from Benny Bansal, who's the founder of Flipkart.
Yeah.
His fund 0 to 1 invested in us, and we had a call with him, and he said that your vision is good, but start small. And we
Yeah.
did not listen it, and we messed it up. And now whenever I think about it, I'm like, he was right. So
Like I think as part of all our journeys, we always get some advice, and it's the moment of time. And I think there is nothing more enthralling than a startup or a co-founder's journey where you learn so much and you know what mistakes not to make the next time.
I agree. And one thing is also related to, as a founder, you're trying to do the right thing in
Yeah.
that time. Like
Yeah.
with your knowledge, your skill set, your information,
Yes.
you think. But it's always hindsight is better than They say
Yeah.
their view is cleaner than the windshield.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, I can just say that, oh, when I raised money, I should have invested all that money into Bitcoin and taken very minimal pay so that
Yeah.
we would have run way higher. But those are retrospect things,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
It's
true.
almost like, I mean, listening to a podcast on how to swim and trying to go learning swimming, right? End of the day, it will have its own learning. And
Yeah.
for
even
sure.
entrepreneur's journey, to your point, is going to be unique. And you would react a different way. And there's so many different parameters in the ecosystem that you cannot plan for. And it's just exciting. We're trying our best to keep people informed, but there's no better way than going and dabbling it yourself, dabbling with it yourself, I guess.
For
Yeah.
sure. I think I recently told someone that all investors, they have advice.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one investor who had tweeted that there's so predictable playbook for PMF. And I was like, if that playbook is so predictable, like because you saw something and you are sitting outside and you can put parallel, why is your fund, like your portfolio of 100 companies, all not successful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you have a playbook, you are investor, you can at least forget me who you have not invested in, but you can force them to follow that playbook
Yeah.
and increase your chances, but you're not doing it because it's easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to the product management folks, right? Prashant, what are like the most common skills that you felt helped you in your entrepreneurial journey versus, when you were a product manager? So like what are the skills that you carried forward?
I think working with different teams is the best thing which product managers do. I mean,
Yeah.
they generally they don't have any one team which they are
Yeah.
working with. They have engineers, designers, marketers, even legal teams and sales team.
Yep.
As a founder, that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Second thing is product management does not have any hard skill. Like it's not like you are expert in Figma, motion design, or something.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
bunch of soft skill, generalist role,
Yeah.
which
Sure.
helped me a lot. Third thing I'll say is that product sense. Uh, because I worked always as a product first, I I was able to always figure out what is a good product and bad product. So these three skills really carried forward from being PM to uh, being a founder. And also, they say that PMs influence without authority.
Yeah.
As a entrepreneur or CEO, if you think that, you know, you have all the authority, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So I still have to influence without authority.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how, like, even when the company grows, it should always, like, a lot of people when I interview, right, like at my company or previous company, current company, they are like, is the decision top bottom, is it bottom up? I think in good workplaces it has to be both ways. We need to understand what our leadership are thinking in terms of vision and what's like, what can actually be done. So it has to meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So glad that you are able to bring that. But like I agree to your point, right? Like I think Nishant and I both have heard from a lot of folks, what does it take to break into product management? And I'm always like, as long as you can work with people, you have the right soft skills, you can get into their zone. Like if you're talking to a salesperson, understand why there is so much, hurry about something. Why are they so stressed about making a deal? Because they are the first, defense, first line of defense for the company. And then when you're talking to an engineer, they are into the weeds, they know what can actually happen. So it's very different mindset, someone who wants everything to make it happen and someone who knows what can happen, right? And you have to get into all those zones to figure things out is very necessary.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Nishant, you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, for sure. One thing I'm curious about, Prashant, is maybe slightly off script, but also curious. How do you get your name out there about Zeta into the product management world? Because again, it's like a very crowded space to begin with. You brought up a lot of players in the past, like Amplitude, Pendo. There's all these different players who claim to be doing similar stuff, right? We help you with discovery, we help you with customer insight. There's reverse ETL. There's so much happening in this world. So how did you manage to break into that attention economy? And how did you convert your it was product manager your primary buyer? How did you convince them through the cycle? Just curious about your journey.
I think product manager, whenever someone is starting to sell to product managers, I first instinct is be careful with the interest versus intent.
Hmm.
Uh, Product managers are curious. You tell them any new product, they'll try it out, check it out. They'll not buy. They are
Yeah.
not, they don't have buying authority. And that was
Yeah.
one thing which I learned hard way. Like,
Hmm.
even if today I send, hey, this is Veda, check it out, you would be curious, and I'll be very happy that someone from Snowflake, senior PM signed up, man, this is a lead. Or someone from Walmart signed up. We have had co-founder of Stripe, Miro, others signed up on Veda. And
Okay.
I see some of my players and startups who will take this sign up and take screenshots and post it on Twitter and be like, oh, we got interest from them. And like that's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
They are not interested to buy. So that's one hard thing about this industry. Now, when we started up, product board was very famous. It still is, but uh, every big company was using it, and it was just we started in 2020 end, and they had raised after pandemic. People were looking out for a solution to remotely work, and product
Hmm.
board was they were the only two option available in the market with decent
Okay.
product, and they raised enough money. They spent on marketing, and we were competing with someone who was valued at a unicorn and had $200 million funding in 1 year. And we were just like, okay, how do we do it? And then
Yeah.
Jira came out with Jira Product Discovery, another competition, and we were like, oh, this is Jira. You can't compete with the distribution. But we did few things right. One, invested in SEO and content from day one. So if you see, we still have like 18,000 followers on LinkedIn because we have been very regular on LinkedIn. We know for we are not very active on Twitter because Twitter doesn't work for us.
Okay.
LinkedIn worked for us. We doubled down on that. We did partnership with communities. We partnered with almost all the communities which bigger companies ignored. We partnered with uh, anyone who's launching a PM course, podcast, newsletter. We partnered with them. We also started doing small meetups. If you see where Shruti, you have been there, like to get product leaders out there. We did sponsorships, and we started putting our booth next to Product Board and Pendo in Product Con, Mind the Product, and other conferences which are there, industry, etc., so that people could associate. It took 2, 3 years of the effort. Where now in all the lifticals which are being launched, AI product management or product tools, Veda is coming up in that. So
Mhm.
I'll say it's a very patient thing where you have to build a brand over time, especially in a crowded space where there are competition with $100 million, $200 million
Yeah.
revenue.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, this seems to also be a good source of funnel for your product now. We'll look for a kickback once the show
I
is over. I'm just kidding.
I definitely feel more than sales, this is very good for user research. Meaning,
Mm.
if today I have to just ask that, hey, how does product management happen in a company like Snowflake? I can just ping Shruti. Like,
Yeah.
uh, that relationship building or uh, that's an advantage for me because for sure a CEO or VP of product of Jira Product Discovery or Product Board or AHA, they're not going to hang out with uh, people like us. I mean, they might say that they would, but they have other important things to take care of.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you have to go and talk to users directly, for me, that's a agility and advantage that, oh, I take a Caltrain every week 3 times to go from city to San Jose just to meet people. So
Yeah.
that's there.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, like I remember when I started my job, Slack was coming in, and it was like one of, co-PMs who said, "Oh, let's try Slack." Microsoft, I think, what was the tool that time? Link was not enough, and then Zoom was a similar trial, which this is how, like it was a, I think it was a very good motion of top down and a bottom up. Sometimes, VP would try it, but very often there was a bottom up motion where like a PM or a developer is trying to pitch a tool and say that, hey, this works for us, so probably we should, like, start using this as a tool. I know, as a matter of fact, at Snowflake, like, people are very open to ideas. Like, they bring tooling and say, oh, this is what makes our life easier, and it starts from a team and then it eventually grows, even in terms of processes. We have seen that.
And one for adding is that we definitely launched on Product Hunt, and we were number one product of the day, of the week, and even I think in top five in for the month, top three, or yeah, top three for the month.
Oh,
That's
that's fantastic.
that's great.
That
Fantastic.
also spread a lot of words.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's
that's great.
almost like you had to hustle. Like, I mean, some people have money, some people have experience. So you have to make up the gap and differentiate in some other dimension. And in this case, you were saying you did whatever it took. You were trying a bunch of ideas, and whatever
Yeah,
stuck, you were doubling down.
doubling down on that.
Good.
Amazing.
That's great. I mean, I've attended Prashant's networking events, and like it's always so good to meet like product managers, and like there are variety of product managers, like early, medium, and even senior. I met someone who was at VMware, and he talks about, like, the whole layoff and coming out of it. And then there was someone who was an investor, just like being a side hustle, right? Like an angel investor. And I
Yeah.
think all of us, while being a PM, are trying to, explore what our second gig is. And like PMs are very creative mindsets, right? Like, and when you meet all of them, your brain, cells get triggered. So I'm really thankful that Prashant invited me to, those luncheons.
I'm waiting for my invite, Prashant.
I have one on 25th May. Should I sent an invite to you?
Yes.
But if you can't do invite Nishant, also forward it to him.
No, that's great. That's great.
Sure, sure.
I mean, there's so much to learn from you, Prashant. Like, you started as a product manager. Nishant, I don't know if you know, but Prashant's layoff story was very famous. I
Oh,
think it got
okay.
like 100,000 or thousands of views and stuff, and like how he unbroke the shackles. All
Ah,
like
okay.
all of us think about, that we want to do something great, and I have always idealized his journey that, hey, things doesn't need to be
I'm glad.
perfect. Yeah, and like you have to just get into it.
I'm glad it was.
Yeah. 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 But any parting advice, Prashant? I mean, it was great to hear the similarities between your PM to entrepreneurial journey, and like what you experienced in entrepreneurial, and like what Zeta is. Nishant, you should definitely give Zeta a try. But any parting advice for our listeners who are product managers, or product managers trying to figure out what they want to do next?
I think one thing which I keep on asking anyone who reaches out to me to become a product manager, or you know change their industry, or even startup. One thing is, think more long term and ask why. Because this is one thing, whenever people reach out to me for advice, mentorship, and I'm like, but why? And
Yeah.
when you ask that 2, 3 times why, you realize that the underlying problem is different. They're just maybe not happy with their job, or they're
Yes.
just uh, mm, some other thing. But
Yeah.
for starting a startup, or to become a product manager, or to have a career path as a ICPM, or become product consultant, or whatever you want to become, why do you want to become?
Yeah.
And the problem is, people always think when they're standing at a junction of life where they have to decide,
Yeah.
they always look forward that I'm standing here. What are the three options in front of me which I can take? Like, and they just choose one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you have to really make a successful career or life, think what you want to be in 10 years time frame,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then decide backward.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't do, especially young people who are 25. And I ask them, okay, what do you want to be at 30, 40? What is your plan? And they're like, we haven't thought about it. And I'm like, you spend more time planning a Goa trip than really planning a career. So it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And that's one advice. Think harder.
yeah. No, true. I mean, I have met a lot of folks who wanted to get into product management just because they don't like coding. And as like, every job has its own qualms. I could say, if you ask me on a bad day, I could say that, I probably do not like my job. But most days I love my job, and that's what you need to think through. What you're doing, is it like in alignment with your long-term vision, and are you happy with it most days? Are you content with what you're doing the most days?
Yeah.
Yep, for
And
sure.
also like to be able to retrospect and think in terms of, okay, what are the core things that you really enjoy? And where would you be able to sustain looking up to those core values that really matter to you? Like, for example, a developer might be like, okay, I enjoy solving technical problems. I enjoy just solving things that no one else has been able to do it. Versus a marketer might be like, okay, I enjoy just talking to people. Sales stuff
Yep.
might be like, okay, I enjoy risk. I want high risk, high reward. It could be a different game for different people.
Yeah.
But as long as you retrospect, have a hypothesis, go after it. Sometimes you're wrong, but at least you have a plan in mind without saying, oh, 10 out of 10 people in India do software engineering, so I'll do software engineering. Or they do an MBA, I'll do an MBA. I'm talking about myself, by the way. And eventually you get to a place where you're like, okay, I like this. I wish I had known this like 10 years ago, right? So, but no, thanks
One
so,
day.
so much for sharing that, Prashant. I appreciate it.
No,
No worries. It was great talking to you both,
same
and
here.
hopefully people like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
going to love it. They're going to love it. And thank you so much for taking the time, Prashant and Nishant, as always.
Yeah, thank you so
Okay.
much. Hey, I have one thing that is probably not related to the